This year we complete 3 years as a practice.
Oh, nice.
I'm asking that let me have my weekend. That's a reasonable a reasonable request. We take our weekends very seriously. Good architecture, good design needs to be accessible, and it's not just for the few who can afford it. You always will end up getting the best option because we will fight it out first
Nice.
before it comes to you.
Yeah.
So and keeps us in check. Self-help, I find, is through heavy music.
Okay.
So that's something that gets me in the zone, calms me down.
Nice.
And it'll be the most extreme thing that you'll be listening to, and then next moment I'm switching to, why don't we look at this really calm sky blue?
Right.
For us, it's like if it's not on Notion, I'm not doing it. So it has to be on there.
3, 2, 1.
Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined.
And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work.
Courage is not doing things in the absence of fear. Courage is doing things despite the fear.
Growth comes from consistent action.
And you're realizing, hey, I'm not the only one with these problems.
So, Mamama. I know I've asked you about this name before and you've given me the really nice story. So why don't you give the others why it's called Mamama as well?
Mamama is grandmother in Konkani, and the practice is named after my grandmother. She passed away when I was in my 10th standard, and these days we don't get to say the word as often. So that's the reason. That was one of the reasons that we thought we should bring it back. But at the same time, it's also because it's a cool sounding word.
Yeah.
When we sat down to pick a name for the practice, we were very particular that it has to be very simple, maybe like a sound, or maybe something that's just 1 or 2 syllables. And this one just made sense.
No, I think it's beautiful. My sister had her first child 2.5 years ago. And she wanted to honor my grandmom and call her Ruby, which is my grandmom's name, with very much similar spirit, right? Of we want, your legacy and all of this. And we thought, of course, grandmom's going to burst out in tears and all of this, it's so beautiful. And I was like, oh no, you'll become the favorite grandchild now. I've been handling it for so long.
Yeah.
And my grandmom just heard it and said, no, that's my name. And just point blank refused. And then my brother-in-law and sister had to search for a name because they had decided that's what was going to be the name. So that's, I like that you found a way, to keep that word alive and her alive. That's really, really cool. Very, very nice. So now that I have butchered the pronunciation of your practice's name, right? So it's Mamama, not Mamama. Sorry, I say Ma. Can you tell us a little bit about what y'all get up to at the studio? What's the specialty? What are y'all going after as part of your entrepreneurial journey?
So at Mamama, I think the idea is to be able to design sensible, beautiful, functional spaces that in some way can add to the lives of the people who are using it, or communities for that matter. The idea, I think, is to be able to do this at every scale. We've started at a very humble scale. I think we started a lot of work with the interior design, and now we are doing more architecture projects. The idea is eventually to be able to do larger public projects, maybe commercial projects. But then we want to take it super easy, step by step. For us, this year we complete 3 years as a practice.
Oh, nice.
In fact, this month, November.
Congrats.
Yeah,
November. That means automatically you're in the 80th percentile of entrepreneurs.
Oh.
Just automatically.
Making it
past 3. That means you're in 80th percentile.
Nice.
Right? Which is kind of crazy. So congrats. That's amazing.
I think he asked in terms of speciality, I think for us, we are also, apart from the design work itself that we do, there are a lot of things in our 4-5 years of working at other practices and seeing the state of practices in India and in this space that we have wanted to consciously change or bring about or do differently. So that's also something very important to us in terms of the work culture, how we treat people, the environment, and just setting the right course, for us right from the start, so that and sticking to it till the end. So that's also something that's been very important for us right from when we started.
So when you say the state of practices, what is the state of interior design and architecture practices in the country?
Not great. I mean,
okay, that's the 1 mark answer. Now can you give me like the 4 mark answer?
I think with the, and it's not just architecture or interior design practices, it's most design or creative practices in the country have had a terrible work culture, and for various reasons. I don't think there's one particular reason this has happened, but then there are long hours, there are not being able to keep up deadlines, having to spend overnight, even the work culture itself, like the environment can get toxic for some people. I think architects or designers are very principled in that sense, and sometimes they don't realize that that's your course, and you want someone else to honor that. You have to slowly get them into it. You can't just expect everyone to know your language as soon as they enter a studio. Things like that.
Are you all speaking from experience? Have you all been part of? You feel like you've experienced this, I'm guessing, in some way, for you to take a stand?
I think in a broader sense, we've worked at several practices, and there's been parts of it in some practices. At the same time, being in the industry, you are surrounded with so many, so many of your friends who are doing this at their practices, and you hear these stories one-on-one. It's not rumors or just hearsay.
Sure.
And you really, for us, I think very early on, we were very clear about setting up a practice eventually. We just didn't know when. It's just that COVID hit and we had a lot of time and we had some prep work already. We had some projects. So we thought that's the right time to make use of that time. But then when that happened, this was, like she said, this was at the core of it, apart from the kind of work we want to do. I don't think in terms of the work we are underconfident at all. We are very confident about the kind of work we do, the kind of value we are able to bring to projects. But for us, it was equally important to build a practice that stood for some of these values, and people would love to join us, right? It is not that they join a studio and then they're just stuck there. And like we don't have, and it's not just by saying, it's also the kind of policies we keep. Ours is a smaller studio.
So can you tell me about a couple of policies or practices you've implemented to take a stand, against that toxic work culture? Maybe one or two things that work for you guys.
So I think at the top of it is working hours. I think it's so basic, right? Like you being compensated for a fixed number of hours, you should be working for a fixed number of hours. And that is not to say anything about your passion for work or architecture. So we have fixed hours. We work 10 to 6, 10 to 6:30, and then 6:30 we are the ones getting people to can you
please leave?
Please leave. Also, it's easier right now because the practice is at home.
So it's literally a please get out.
Because we need to prep dinner and stuff. But the reason, so there's that. We don't have lock-in periods. A lot of practices that hire right now want people to commit for a year or 2 years.
So I've always wondered, what does this lock-in period do? So what if I move on after 6 months? What happens?
Nothing happens, actually.
So then what's the point of calling out this lock-in period? I don't get it.
I see why it came, because I would say that when you are working on a project, the architect just wants you to finish that, you
Yeah.
know, and doesn't want that handover.
Correct.
But it's just an admin thing, really, that you plan your handover properly. It doesn't matter whether they're leaving in 6 months or whether they're leaving in 2 months or they're
No,
leaving
that's
in a
not
year.
what I'm talking about. I'm
That's
talking.
the lock-in period.
No,
correct?
lock-in. I mean, when you join practice,
Yeah.
they want you to commit 2 years of your life to that practice.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like how there used to be like you had to sign a bond if you
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to go
yeah.
into an
Yeah.
IT
Yeah.
job, right? So
Yeah.
my thought process has always been, especially when you're not like this big, you're not Infosys. How are you going to enforce this lock-in
Yeah.
period? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If somebody wants
so
to
that's
move
what
on.
I was saying. Like I think on that front, nothing really happens.
Yeah.
But then the problem is when you do that, the industry is really small. You're going to end up working with one of those firms,
Sure.
and everyone knows everyone. Any architect working today, we might, two connections, and we'll find a way to, know him. So when you leave abruptly or when you don't have these good relationships, I think it affects getting work or it shows on your resume or something.
Sure.
So I think because of that fear, a lot of people give in,
Got it.
saying, at the same time, a lot of people, the architects are doing it because they don't want to be looking for people every 6 months because people are leaving.
Yeah.
But that again connects back to the culture.
Yeah.
Like if
yeah.
you build
That's
a
why
good
they're leaving, right? They
That's
want to
why they're
leave.
leaving.
Yeah.
So what happens when, invariably, I'm sure you want to do 10 to 6:30,
Yeah.
keep work culture, stand
Yeah.
for that. And then clients want what clients want,
Yeah.
right? So, and then you're in the service space, and service space means hospitality, and
Yeah.
client is king, queen, and everything in between, and all of these things. So,
Right.
I don't want you to tell me conceptually how you handle it.
Yeah.
Let me know about like a tough client you've had without, we don't have to name and shame anyone. But when a tough client comes and demands for stuff beyond what you want your team to be working
Yeah.
on or deliver or in terms of timing, what
Right.
do you do?
So I think we learned it the hard way, of course. I think when we started, we were very particular about, we want to do this by the book, whether it is registering the practice or trademarking the name or getting our contracts in place before we even announce the practice, right? So along with that, this is the space that we didn't work on, which is client interactions and how do you manage their expectations.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, we had a lot of clients where it was all about service. So we would pick up their calls at 9:30, 10 in the night, and be like, we'll get this done first thing in the morning. We entertained a lot of requests. We do that still. We go out of our way to, make sure things happen. And especially with homes, they're so personal.
Yeah.
And we understand that. So we wouldn't want someone to not, have a great experience making their home. So we would do that in the beginning, and then we realized it's just not working out. And at that point, it was just the two of us. So we were ready to take that beating, and so that's the thing. That's the call we made, that till we have this figured out, we're not hiring people. We will hire
it.
people once we have our processes, things like this figured out. And I think somewhere in the second year onwards, we started saying no, like nobody's business.
And what triggered this? What was your first no?
I remember we had one particular client who was only available on a holiday or on a weekend or on a
Right.
Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And so the one or two times we said yes, and we met on the weekend or we would take calls on a holiday. And when it started sort of repeating, like every holiday we have a call, that's when we realized that we cannot entertain this anymore and had to say no.
Yeah.
Met with some resistance, but then we sort of just stuck to it and repeatedly said no till they got the
And was that
they came on board.
terrifying or easy to do?
Terrifying. It was particularly hard for me. I think you were a little bit more steadfast and you're like, no, we have to say no. But I also now have come around and I can say no without like shattering on the inside.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm guessing it's like, because the first time like with most things, till you do it multiple times, it doesn't normalize.
Yeah.
And so the first few times of saying no to a client are terrifying. You feel guilty. You like there's all of these emotions that come in. And then once it's normal, you're like, what was I doing for the first 2 years dealing with these weekends and holidays and all this? And it's totally fair for me to, you know, ask for my space or whatever it might be.
And you build these situations in your mind, right? Like how it's going to go. When you say no, they're going to say this, and then you.
And it's always worst case.
Worst case.
Yeah, they're going to walk out.
And then when it actually comes to it, and we say no, and it's a reasonable request. I'm not saying no to, something that's very trivial. I'm asking that let me have my weekend. That's a reasonable. That's a reasonable request. Like even in the beginning, we didn't. I don't think it was like Thursday we were entertaining things. Friday we started saying no, so it was point blank. We eased into it. Like we would say things like, we're working Monday to Friday. We get only our weekends to do our chores.
Right.
So we need that weekend.
So you hit them with guilt. Right.
So which we don't. I mean, we stopped doing that eventually.
Yeah.
We just say we don't work on Saturday, Sundays, and that's enough. But it's only after you've done it a few times that you realize that it's enough.
I always tell people when they, I've asked a few of our entrepreneurs to stand their ground, say no to a few things. And then they always say, so what reason should I give? How do I justify this? And I have found that the cheat code to everything is that's policy. That's the answer, right? When you say that's policy, suddenly everybody's like, oh, policy. If there's a policy, it must be written down. It's part of your sort of framework of how you work.
No, actually, it's a big, that's a trap when you start to reason. Because if they can counter that reason, then
then what will you do?
Then you have more reasons to think of.
So you say, I want my weekend. They say, but I need weekends to spend time with my children. Do you not want me to spend time? Like, what are you going to do? Right? You're done.
So I think very early on, within, 1.5 years or something, the learning was, and I think this is something you also mentioned in one of the series that you do, the Wednesday Thinker Spaces. No is a full sentence. And that's something we realized very early on, and that's only helped us. And at the core of it, both of us are people pleasers, but then it was really starting to take a toll on us. But then we didn't feel bad about it because it was just the two of us and we're figuring it out. But then right now when we have staff, we have interns, we have architects, they don't have to entertain any of this.
Nice.
They don't, so there's that, right? Like there's fixed working hours. That also means communication. Communication stops after 8 p.m. 8 is the max because there's always things going here and there.
Sure.
But they leave office by 6:30. 8 p.m. WhatsApp, there's no response.
Because you'll have started eating dinner now, presumably at your house. So.
Correct.
And you also said, so we talked about, what you're saying no to. I also want to drift a little bit into what you want to say yes to. So you mentioned that y'all are at a humble scale now, it's beautifully put, and that you want to potentially do bigger projects, residential, commercial, etc. What's the dream project in your mind? You know how everybody has their vision board and their Pinterest board. I'm sure you all interact with Pinterest boards all the time, considering the space you're in. So what's the dream project in your mind that you want to get to at some stage, whether that's now, later, whatever pace you choose? And also, is it the same dream project that both of you have?
Do you want to go 1, 2, 3 and say that?
And then we'll make sense of it later.
I think we have the same dream typology that we want to do public projects. That would be the dream, that's something that is really working with the community that it is in, right? It is for the people, it's by the people, that would be like the dream project that we want to work on. So I think
by a public project, she would mean like a convention center or maybe a university.
Because as you were saying by and for, I was like, Parliament. Like that's what you're looking.
No.
Can you give me a few examples, of the public projects? Convention Center, he said. A couple of others that come to your mind?
In Bangalore, so a BIC is a public project, right?
Gotcha.
It interacts with all kinds of people. It has different scales, a lot of events. It's bustling with activity. So I'd say public and to an extent also institutional projects. And by institutional, again, we mean schools,
Gotcha. Okay.
larger universities, where basically the users are interacting, and it's really sort of they are moved by the space, or it has a place in their life.
It's fundamental
right?
to
yeah,
their...
it's fundamental.
I think the difference is, I mean, it's not lost on us. Residential work, that's the stuff that we do right now mostly, whether it is interior design or architecture. It's you need to have patrons, and patrons have whatever money they have to spend, and then it's for their own consumption. So in that sense, it is servicing only those 4 or 5 people who are living in the house.
Sure.
And there's no problem with that. It's just that we would love to be involved with projects which touches people who've not commissioned it also, right? Like public, that's what we mean by public projects, where people are then able to experience these spaces, and it's accessible. Good architecture, good design needs to be accessible, and it's not just for the few who can afford it.
Sure.
So it's like, so I think that's...
So I guess my follow-up to this is, why is this the dream goal? Like you told me about these projects, it would touch people who haven't commissioned it. Access is so important. Why is this the dream? Because the dream could have been anything, right?
Yeah.
Why is this the dream for both of you?
I think to some extent we are all doing it, and we want to feel like we've contributed in some way to the fabric
of the society.
Sure. Yeah. So and institutional or public projects seem to be a good gateway for that, where people are interacting with what you create the most and the most freely. Like they're able to experience it without having to think about it, right? So I think for me that's why it is the dream.
Think it's the same. I think right now we are these niche boutique artists who are being commissioned to do specific kind of work. We would like our work, I mean, I'm not saying it like it's as vain, but we would like our work to contribute to the society. I think it's a very conscious decision on both our parts to not leave the country. We want to be able to work in this industry. We want to be able to, whatever we've learned over the years, we want to be able to give it back.
Sure.
And that's the best way to be able to give back, unless I start teaching or something. But
in our
that's
space,
not happening.
this feels like the best way to give back.
So how do you grapple with, because very clearly that's the big goal. Very clearly right now that's not consistently what you're doing, but I'm sure you're finding joy in what you're currently doing, right, as well. So how do you grapple with that? Are you all thinking about how often are you thinking about the dream thing and got your eyes on that and stepping stones towards that? How often are you staying focused on what you're working on right now, deriving joy from it? How do you all grapple between those two things?
It's something we think about every day, for sure, because we are interacting with, I mean, we get to study so many buildings that are being written about or being published. So it's there at the back of your head. So it's something that we are thinking about every day. But I think what's more important to us is to get there in a way that's sustainable while keeping a practice that enjoys good culture. And that is the difficult bit, right? If we are to start... also, I mean, since you can't pitch for these things immediately because of the kind of experience we have or whatever. Public projects take that much more experience, so we need to be able to build that experience to then be able to go and pitch. So we are taking then this time to build and make a practice that's, very conscious and conscious about how the work is being produced. It is not because Anna and Anoop want to do this, so we have to work extra hours, and I hire like 12 other people, pay them really badly because we need to get this pitch. I think we are very, in that sense, both of us are super pragmatic, super realist in that sense. We are okay with the pace. We are okay taking it step by step, slowly. We are ambitious, like now that we've told you, but I don't think we're in any hurry. The entire practice is supposed to be an exploration, and we'll get there eventually. But we don't want to. I mean, it would be nice if we get it sooner.
Yes. I was just going to say.
Yeah.
But knowing everything in the industry and knowing how things go, and especially being in this country, I think it's going to take a while, and we're fine with that. And by that time, we'll build a practice that's, something to be proud of.
So far in this conversation, you all seem aligned on everything. Okay? And I am finding it hard to believe that any two people in any business are aligned on everything.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure there are disagreements or things you think about differently or execute differently. So now I want you to help me explore those differences a bit, but not when it comes to the actual craft.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this journey of building a business together, right? So what is the top thing you think differently from Anup on? Or you act differently or whatever when it comes to this business building thing, that where it's not perfect alignment. It might not be poles apart.
No,
Maybe
we are poles apart.
So
Especially on this front, I think.
yeah. So tell me a little bit about where you disagree on or have a different take on the business building front.
So for the longest time, I think probably it has started to change a bit now, but I did not understand the business building part of the practice, right? A lot of it Anup seemed to have a better grasp on. So for me, it was, having to look for clients or having to put yourself out there. Those were things that were not even on my radar. And I would just say that let's just do the work that we have been given and do it nicely, and things will come.
Sure.
And I think that's a big thing that we were not aligned on at all, because I would just be like, let's just do this and it'll come. But that's not the case.
It's taken a lot of effort to bring her here. Because I think that's rightly put. That's the biggest difference between the two of us. And I would love to, actually, I'm that same person, honestly, who would just like to do the work, be in our practice, not talk about, we do this and we do that, and just work will come. But then what we realized very early on is when you do that, then you're not getting to work with the clients that you want to work with, right? We're not reaching out to the right people. So that became very important. And also, I think right from day one, we were very particular about, I say we because I would advocate for it, and then it would be like a showdown, and then she would give in. That we need to be able to put work out there, it's and not keep it very low key.
When does this realization happen for you, and when did you find that you accepted it? Because it sounds like with this particular disagreement, you're the one who accepted, okay, let's go down this route, right? So when did you realize it? How long did it take for you to accept it? Like, what's the time difference?
I was this from day one.
Okay.
I was very, the problem at that point was I didn't know enough. I just knew that it has to be done a certain way. So then I would consume a lot of media, be it podcasts, be it YouTube videos, or not so many books, but mostly these videos and podcasts, and speak to other entrepreneurs, how they've gone about it, and understand what's working, what's not working. So I think for me it was since day one.
When we started Mamama, we were in the middle of COVID, right? And it was just the two of us for at least a year. So I think around a year is when I just kind of kept pushing back and saying, no, we don't probably need to do it, or didn't actively think that this is something that we need to work on. And then now I'm on board and I know that this is what it takes to run a business. And
you don't seem thrilled about it though. Like You're like, okay, fine, I have to deal with this. I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world for me, I could just do the work and be done with it. But
Sure.
I don't think that's not the right way to look at it. So
Yeah.
I'm on board now.
Got it. And so now I guess my I would think very reasonable follow-up controversial question is, when have the roles been reversed? Where you have had an opinion on the business building front, there was a disagreement, and now Anup is sort of on track, right? Was there anything like that you feel has happened? And if not, you need to start pushing way harder.
Yeah, I know. I can't think of anything in which the roles have been reversed.
Okay, well, you can credit me for causing
Yes.
a problem
Yes.
this week. I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
No, I think when it comes to design, so even in that front, right? Like we are donning different hats. So for me, it is business development, marketing, client interaction, prospective clients. The first person you'll speak to when you reach out to Mamama is me,
Got it.
and then it reaches her desk. So it's getting filtered, and then she just has to be there for the final meeting or whatever. But then it's the opposite way when it comes to the servicing part, which is
Got it.
the actual craft of it. I think she takes a lead on that. And so just like how we have put in place systems and processes for all these things, there are standards and the way to go about things that have been implemented on that side, which is the craft side of it, whether it is the drawings, execution. We have like dozen of checklists. We have the way the drawing needs to be presented, things like that. So
Sure.
I think she takes a lead on that. And we've had, we have disagreements on a daily basis when it comes to design, and that's something we keep telling our clients also.
That's
because,
great, actually. Yeah.
you always will end up getting the best option, because we will fight it out first
Yeah, nice.
before it comes to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and keeps us in check.
Got it. Now that it's been a little while in this entrepreneurial journey, 3 years, I always find that, people ask me, what is entrepreneurship, define it, all of these things. And earlier I used to just refuse. I was like, there's no definition of this. But one of the definitions that I have sort of picked up along the way is that on a micro scale, entrepreneurship is the greatest self-discovery journey. That's what it is. Like, you're creating something, etc., but you're discovering so much about yourself. So in the past 3 years, what have you discovered about yourself that you didn't know before you started being an entrepreneur, right? So whether it comes to your risk appetite, or how you deal with uncertainty, or managing people, or I run away from confrontation, whatever it is, what have you learned about yourselves through this journey so far that has been a little bit of a surprise for you?
You want to take it? I need time.
There, you won one. Right? Now he has to succumb.
One of the things for sure is what I've found about myself is I can be a lot more patient, especially with projects and things happening on a day-to-day basis. I think I'm someone who wants things done like quickly, and especially early on, it was like that for me. But now I've learned to take my time with it. And also, I think me as a person, I'm just very jittery and just anxious all the time. So it's 1,000 thoughts running in my head at the same time, even right now when I'm saying this sentence. So to be able to contain that, to put on a calm, composed face in front of clients, because I do struggle with it, but then to have that in front of the clients can be a little detrimental sometimes.
Yeah.
So to be able to contain it for that interaction, for that time, to be able to play that character for half an hour or for 1 hour, I didn't think I had it in me.
Sure.
So, and that's come with a lot of patience, like being patient with myself, and having these small rituals before meetings, something that I'll do to prep myself up so that, I'm in the right...
what is something you you do before a meeting?
For me, I think most self-help I find is through heavy music.
Okay.
So that's something that gets me in the zone, calms me down.
Nice.
And it'll be the most extreme thing that you'll be listening to. And then next moment I'm switching to, why don't we look at this really calm sky blue?
Right.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah. So
do you watch The Office?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what Dwight does when he goes on paper sales runs as well, right? He just listens to heavy metal music for 2 minutes, goes nuts, and then is like, I'm going to be the most calm, composed person in the room. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Wow. I thought that was just written as fiction, but it's nice to see it actually happen. That's cool.
You've thought of your...
Yeah, he bought you enough time.
Yeah,
it was a great answer, but he also bought you time for sure.
I was kind of listening to you, so didn't really think much. But I think I didn't realize this before when I was working at other places, but I can tend to be a bit of a workaholic that I will... It's very hard for me to switch off.
Gotcha.
So even, we don't work on weekends and all of that, but I did find it really hard. I'm better at it now, but for me to actually switch off and not think about work, it's, I didn't realize that I was that person. I thought I was a well-balanced, normal, functioning person who likes to work during work hours and then, relax. So that's something that was a revelation to me. Even now, I kind of have to work really hard to push it to the back to be like, no, we are not working right now. Right?
Got it. It's got to be a conscious thing.
Yeah. So it's I think that was something that I realized in these 3 years and was surprised to learn also.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so just an extension of that is, I also find it pretty hard to switch off. I think it's got to be conscious for me. If I do it consciously, it happens. Otherwise, it can just flow into everything.
Yeah.
Working from home, considering y'all work together and live together, are y'all just talking about work all the time, or have y'all managed to get past that as well? Or do you all lean into it? I don't know. What's your method?
Way past that chapter. Okay. I think the first year it was difficult because it was just the two of us. Yeah. So we spoke about work very often. Also, it's the first year. You're very excited about everything.
Of course. Yeah.
Not that we are not now, but we just now have timings for it.
Yeah.
We are excited.
Be excited from 9 to 6:30.
9 to 6:30.
Yeah, I think we also are now we have a schedule, like our days are pretty, disciplined that way. So we kind of have stuff going on. And so after work, we know that there are other things to do. And so you're not really talking about work till you're back in the office the next day.
Yeah. And I love what we are able to do on weekends. We are switching off completely. Sometimes there are weekends we have probably not left the bed because the week was super tiring.
Sure.
And then I think in the first year you feel a lot of that, like what you were saying. You feel guilty that you're watching something. You should be rather working. Yeah. But now we know that it's because of that break we're able to come back into that week with that same kind of rigor and not get burnt out very quickly. So we take our weekends very seriously. We will step out, have a date night. We watch a lot of horror movies, so we'll watch those. We'll read. I can say this, but
you read. I fall asleep.
So yeah, I think that's been a conscious effort on both our parts to do that. Otherwise, I don't think we'd have lasted for 3 years.
Yeah. And what do you find, going a bit deeper, I guess, with the challenges? I know we talked a lot about the personal side of things, but just coming to just hard business stuff. What are you finding the hardest when it comes to growing the business or building the business? That is, I don't know, always nagging you in the back of the mind, even after 6:30.
Yeah.
You're thinking about, what are you finding hard with this journey now in terms of where you are and where you want to go?
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, I think being principled sounds very cool, that you're standing for these things.
Yeah.
But to put it into practice, it's super hard work. I can say that right now that we have these hours, we don't do, lock-in periods, and that is also because that then doesn't allow us to take more work than we can at a certain point. And then we take our time with each team. So like with our architects, we want them prepared in every sense for the next job that's going to come. So we are then taking our time with all of that. So that's super challenging because like you're on Instagram, you are talking to your friends, and you know that these guys are doing all these things. There's so much to be achieved, and these guys some guys are doing it in 2 years, some guys are doing it. So it's very easy to give in and, compare yourself. And the most difficult thing we do is, I think, on a day-to-day basis, remind ourselves that we have our own path, and it has its own destination. They have theirs, and it's also allowed us to be happy for our friends and contemporaries.
That's a big one.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just always in this, my God, why don't I have that? Like they have that. So that's definitely one of the most difficult things we do. Let's say we are prepping for a presentation with a client, and the client is insisting on, let's do this tomorrow. And then we have to tell them, no, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks before we do this. And I do not want to say that, but then it's because I need all these other things to be kept in check. And it's super difficult every day.
And what about for you? Is it similar challenges, or is there another part of the business you're still finding hard?
I think what I have been finding hard is just putting ourselves consistently out there. It doesn't come natural to us, and so we recognize the need that to work on that and make sure that whether it's social media, whether it's just talking about the work we're doing, or putting ourselves in front of people, or just being out there. I think for me and for us, I think both of us, it's very natural for us to not do any of it, like just be quiet and fly on the wall. But I think that's a part about business building that I think is quite challenging even now for us to do, especially social media, and being consistent with that. We are a small team, so we have to kind of do it ourselves. So prioritizing that is a challenge, because we tend to kind of push it to the end of the pile and never get to it.
It's the extracurricular activity.
But it's actually not, and it should be upfront. So I think that's a challenge for me as well.
And what are you enjoying the most about, the journey that you're on right now?
I am, apart from the craft or the design, that's great, and we are very confident with that, and so that's obviously the part that we enjoy the most. But in terms of building a business, I think right now in these first couple of years, we've been sort of setting down a lot of systems for ourselves and for whoever's going to be working with us in now and in the future. I think that's very exciting, because it's all in your control, and it's right from the start. With our shared experiences, we are able to put down how we want to run this business.
Like, I'll be more specific in the sense, like, you join an office and then you're just supposed to learn by yourself what happens, how it happens. But like, we have, even though ours is a very small team, we are just 5 to 6 people at any given point. Any new person that joins in knows exactly how things are going to progress. So, I mean, I think earlier we used to use something called ClickUp to project manage and all that. Then we switched to Notion for about the last 1 year or 1.5 years. And then it's got this super detailed wiki, which is a company wiki. And they join in and they're able to read about, what we are about, what we're doing, what is on their desk, what is their system configuration, what is the standard for drawing. If you want to print something, what is the process?
Yeah,
so
nice.
anytime anyone does anything in the office, it's the exact same way. And building that has been, that is something that we found very enjoyable, because every day, like maybe we'll do something right now and we'll be like, hey, this
could be a process.
This could be a thing. So we'll write it down, note it, and then so every day you're building it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's quite enjoyable.
I'm glad you enjoy that, because I feel like my team could play a drinking game with the amount of times during a day I say, we should Notion that. Just immediately. Anything happens and John is smiling in the corner over there, because I'm just constantly, anytime anybody says literally anything, I'm just like Notion, and they're like, how is this? And I'm like, no, well, if we do this, it could turn into this system. And I love it. Oh, it's nice to have digital notes.
Earlier we thought it was just us, that we are like this, so the people that who are working with us have to bear with it. But then even right now, like, it's so fun. The architects, they'll come, they'll walk in by 9:45 in the morning, 9:50, and the first half an hour they're all on Notion adding the tasks for the day, and then the last 15 minutes they will close all those things.
Oh my god, this makes me so happy. Like, we're gonna nerd out. I'm gonna show you like my Notion and we can compare what's happening.
Because so also you have these notifications. I have only Notion notifications on my watch, the smartwatch. So as soon as it's 6:30, it starts beeping, tuck, 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 because they're closing events, closing tasks. So I think that's very enjoyable.
For us, it's like, if it's not on Notion, I'm not doing it. So it has to be on there.
Oh, I'm so happy about this. Literally today I sent a message. I'm gonna like feel like I need to find it and read it out. Literally it started with, hey team, we're gonna connect at 5:30 p.m. today. By that time, please build out your week's actions on Notion. Here are a few non-negotiable wins to build your week around. Okay, and then like everybody is like on Notion. I'm really excited after recording this podcast. We're actually, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna like review on Notion. I don't think my team's as excited as your team is. Like, but I am. So it's okay.
And I think before I forget,
rub off on them.
Before I forget, and we come across as these nerds who are just about digital things. I think another enjoyable things is, of course, when you get to get these messages and words of affirmation from clients. What do you call unsolicited? Like, we are not fishing for it, and it just comes out of the blue. Very recently, one of our clients sent us a message. I could probably read it out, but they also sent us a video. So we've done, a cool looking bar unit, and the curtains sort of are on automation, and it opens, and the lighting is on automation. And they were hosting a party where they were opening the house to all their friends, and they sent us a video of, it was an event, like,
that's so cool.
Them working on all of that. And I was all the friends also, they're not just looking at it and being like, oh, this is nice. Everyone's shouting, everyone's hooting, and it was cool. So much fun. Cool. And I think it really reminded us that sometimes we don't do so much cheerleading for ourselves. And when it comes from the clients, it's always so much nicer.
Beautiful. Speaking of, when you go to your clients and like you get unsolicited feedback, I will very much now solicit feedback. Okay, so you've been part of the Jigsaw community for a while. I just want to know a little bit about, you don't have to try and be the, make this an eloquent elocution and pitch and stuff, but just what have been your highlights? Like, what do you take away from it? What is Jigsaw to you right now? Because I feel like it's different for different entrepreneurs.
A lot of our learning has come through, just the most random spots, like maybe it's YouTube, or maybe it's an Instagram thing, or maybe some tidbit some fellow has told us, and we're like, okay, we'll try this. So we were always looking for some kind of business coaching, I guess, and soon we realized a lot of it is quite inaccessible because it's expensive. So when we came across this, it was a leap of faith. We didn't know how it's going to be. Of course, we got what it's like, but then we didn't know if it will actually help us. But I think the one thing that both of us do most often is go through, there's that entire archive of Thinkerspace's videos, right? And they are categorized according to the different client, this thing, and so those are the videos that we watch quite often, and we've learned so much from there. And at the same time, there have been ideas and things that we do which get validated because now you've said it. So we'll be like, hey, we're doing something right. So I think that helps us be more confident in what we're doing. It's not, earlier we just felt like maybe this is right, but now we're like, okay, this is right. This is the right way to approach it. So that's been our biggest sort of, I think, what do you call it? That's the thing that we take away from Jigsaw. Even like right now, those are the videos that we're not joining the live sessions so much because
you don't have to take this podcast to apologize for missing sessions. You're okay.
Yeah. So, but then we make it a point to watch these, and those both of us watch it together.
Nice.
So yeah, those are pretty fun.
Okay, awesome, cool. I'm glad we're playing a little role in the confidence game and I guess growth. That's always nice to hear. And I love that I got it unsolicited, so it's made it even better. Okay, before we wrap up, we have a little segment we call Jaldi with Jigsaw. So I'm just gonna hit you with a few quick questions. I would love to get both of your answers to them. The advantage to answering first is that you don't have to be like, oh, what they said. Okay, because that's not allowed. So you might as well get your answer in first. Cool. So are you ready for Jaldi with Jigsaw?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I would want to be a singer.
Wow, that was how fast was that? Okay, great. Yeah.
An artist, an illustrator.
Oh, beautiful. Nice. Related as well. Nice. Okay. As a singer, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh God, I'm not a singer.
As an aspiring singer, what is your go-to karaoke song?
I don't have an answer. I'm blank.
I don't know.
But you're not the singer.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you don't have to sing at all. Like, please don't go there. Okay, we'll jaldi skip to the next one. Okay. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I'd say be invisible.
Got it. Creepy as hell, but yeah okay, got it.
If I could just make the entire world function just the way I function.
Right, that's it? Anything else?
That's
okay,
all.
Cool, that's it. Okay, cool. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint choco chip.
Yes. Same.
What's the sundae we order?
Cake
you
fudge.
like a banana split.
Banana split.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Also, I'm not an ice cream person, so.
My God, that's made it far worse. Okay. How do you, when you struggle to switch off every now and then, what's the thing that helps you actively switch off? Like, what do you do to?
I watch something.
You watch something, okay.
Yeah, for me it's music most often. It's like the architects have stepped out and I'll play a heavy tune immediately.
Got it. A lot of heavy metal. I feel like the intro music to this podcast needs to be a bit different. Just some Iron Maiden going. Okay. What's your favorite board game or video game or sport, whichever one comes to your mind?
Board game, I think Catan is something
God,
we've
we
been...
need to hang. Okay, that's cool. Mint chocolate chip and Catan.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think these days badminton, a lot of badminton.
yeah,
nice.
We do.
We play badminton every day, so that's...
Every day?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, nice. What is the best vacation you've ever taken?
I would say Australia.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
very
nice.
much. Oh, I'd say Masai Mara,
Okay.
which was just this year. So
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, cool. I literally just was speaking to somebody who just
Oh.
visited
Oh.
as well, so kind of cool. Okay, if you could eat only one thing for the rest of your life, it would be
Burgers.
just straight up burgers. Just, are we talking like old school KFC types or like nice gourmet?
Yeah, as in like a cheeseburger.
Okay,
I
got
think
it. Yes.
would be.
Yours?
mine's like a South Indian meals,
Nice.
50
yeah.
rupees, 60 rupees meals.
Yeah.
I can
Unlimited
have
papada, man.
Yes.
How can you beat that?
I
Okay.
can have that for life.
Yeah, nice. Okay, two more. Who's your biggest cheerleader? Can't say each other. Not allowed.
But that is it. I'd say we're each other's cheerleaders.
I mean, you
Biggest.
Cannot say anything else now, so you're fine.
Too bad.
3 words to define a jigsaw thinker. Y'all can do it collectively or individually.
I think prepared.
Confident?
I think pragmatic, because you get to know everything and then you're taking your steps. So pragmatic, prepared, and
we did
confident. She's like, the assignment's over, man. Why are you revising? Okay, great. Y'all smashed it. Okay, well done with Jaldi with Jigsaw. Thank you so much for opening up in this conversation. Really nice to know about your journey, what you're grappling with, and what you're heading towards. We'll be rooting for you and cheering you on as well, so you don't have to only cheer each other on.
That would be great.
And if people wanted to check out the work y'all are doing or get in touch with you, understand a bit about your journeys, what would be the best place and how would they find you?
You can visit our website, mamama.in, or you could visit our Instagram, which is @mamama.in.
Nice.
Or Facebook, which is
mamama.in. Okay, got it.
And you'll find our contact details on the website or Instagram. And we are just a DM away, so slide into our DMs.
Wow. What a way to end this podcast. Slide into our DMs. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I think we'll wrap there. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We're Jigsaw Thinking, home of the self-starters. If you're interested in being your own boss, head to jigsawthinking.com or drop us a DM at Jigsaw Thinking on Instagram.